Welcome to Larry's Library, and welcome to another edition of the Sunday Scan. This is the series where I'm doing a read-through of what's left of my unread single-issue comic books, and I am finishing up Marvel's Godzilla run from the late 70s with issue 24, this one right here. And it's kind of bittersweet getting to the final issue because I've had a lot of fun with this. It's featured some great art by Herb Trimpe throughout the entire 24 issues. Doug Minch on writing. Yeah, it's been fantastic, and I really hate to finish it, but here we are. Now, this cover, like the last two, I think, is uncredited. You cannot see a visible initial or signature anywhere on it. And once again, the databases I've consulted, CLZ, Comic Collector, and also Comic Base, do not give any credits. Well, I take that back. I think Comic Base says artist Herb Trimpe, and that's it. And Collector Z has nothing for the cover. Now, looking online, digging through some other web pages, I found two references. Two different pages say that the art is by Herb Trimpe and Dave Cockrum. The one doesn't specify their roles, and the other says that Dave Cockrum did the layouts and Herb Trimpe finished it. So they're saying layouts Dave Cockrum and pencils Herb Trimpe. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Please do in the comments below. But I don't think I've ever seen Herb Trimpe pencil someone else's layouts. Not saying it's not possible. Could have happened that way. And looking at this, it really does, at first glance, I would say, again, like I did the last two issue covers for this series, that this is Herb Trimpe inked by Al Milgrom. That is that's my inclination just by looking at it. That's what my comic artist eye says about this. It says, I think it's Herb Trimpe inked by Al Milgrom. But I could be wrong. I mean, two different websites both say that Dave Cockrum was involved in this. I do love the cover. It's fantastic. It evokes a movie poster kind of look to it, I think. Maybe that's what it's modeled after. I'm not sure. Maybe that's where I've seen this image. But it seems really iconic, him walking through the streets, and you're seeing almost a silhouette lit from the front there. It's fantastic. I love this cover. Would love to have this as a poster-sized version of this. But I'd also like to know what the proper credits are. So if you know or you have any ideas of your own, let me know down in the comments. Maybe we'll figure out this mystery together. I don't know. So I'm not sure what I'm going to put in my database. I think I will update CLZ with Herb Trimpe artist and just leave it at that until I find out who else was involved for sure, if I ever do. It is a mystery. And you would think something this old, from 1979, that someone would have figured it out by now. But maybe no one cares. Maybe I'm the only one. Surely not. But yeah, I love this cover, though, for sure. So check out this scan. I think it's great. Yeah, getting into this one. Right on the opening page here. And lo, a child shall lead them. Now, I've heard that phrase forever. I'm sure you all have too. It's from the Bible. Kind of. So, I looked this up because I wanted to be factual here and say where it came from. But I think it's from Isaiah 11:6 maybe. Something like that. I did not write it down or note it in my phone. But I could not actually find a Bible verse that phrases it that way. And lo, a child shall lead them. I mean, there's a little child shall lead them, a small child shall lead them, that sort of thing. But I could not find, and lo, a child shall lead them. But I've seen that phrase that way for years, it seems like. At least that's what my memory is. If you know the correct answer to that, put that in the comments too. That'd be awesome. But, yeah. Another great opening page by the great Herb Trimpe. Inking by Dan Green. Great stuff. That's probably my preferred inker for him. Well, if not Marie Severin. That's great too. But Dan Green is great on Herb Trimpe. Doug Minch writing all the way to the end. Curiously here, it says Novak letterer, but the colorist, it's blank before colorist. I think they forgot to put in the colorist. And one of the databases I looked at online said the same thing. It said no colorist credited, which is a shame because the coloring is fantastic throughout this. But yeah, here we see Godzilla rising back out of the water, as was shown on the last page of issue 23. But here we got a different angle. We're seeing all these superheroes scramble, as well as the Shield helicarrier, Dum Dugan controlling that. And you got the Fantastic Four coming up in the Fantastic Car, the Avengers. You got Thor and Reed Richards in the foreground. And nobody knows what the hell they're going to do at this point. It is pandemonium. Page 2. Really, I'm probably going to have to scan page 2 and page 3. This is really good stuff. You see Godzilla nearly stepping on the Vision and Iron Man. And the second panel on page 2 is really nice. You see this sort of side back view of Godzilla turning. It looks just so natural and real. I mean, for Godzilla, you know what I mean. And page 3, some stunning work by Herb Trimpe here. The top panel, the Fantastic Car, and Johnny Storm flying there. It's good stuff. Then the next panel, you got Godzilla breathing fire. Thor standing on a building, not knowing what the hell he's going to do either. And they see that Godzilla is heading toward the Empire State Building, being the tallest building. Page 6, you can see this little flame duel between Johnny Storm and Godzilla. Pretty great stuff. Johnny doesn't do too well with that. Rob Tagaguchi throws a tantrum in the carrier. Don't know if I'll scan that page. I can't scan them all, guys. But Thor and Iron Man are scrambling, trying to save people. I will scan page 11 here. J. Jonah Jameson in his office, he's throwing a fit because no one can find Peter Parker. And he says, Parker's the best photog I got. I want pictures of this. And they can't find Peter Parker. But then you've got this sort of L-shaped panel that takes up almost 50% of the page. Really, really good stuff from Herb Trimpe. You see kind of a back shot of Thor flying toward Godzilla, who is looking like he's trying to push the Empire State Building over. So that is no good. Yeah, I'll scan page 14 and 15 also. 14, page 14 is interesting because the top panel shows Godzilla looking in an Empire State Building window. And he's interrupting some business guy sexually harassing his secretary. Which this, really shows you the times, how the times have changed. This is 1979. And this panel is just sort of a throwaway gag, I guess. They're just showing the sexual harassment take place like it's commonplace, and I guess it was, And so it's just a throwaway gag in 1979 that this is common behavior for a business-suited dude to sexually harass his female secretary. But Godzilla interrupts that, so I guess that's a good thing. Yeah, and then Thor ends up on the other side of the Empire State Building, pushing against it, trying to keep it straight, while Godzilla's pushing the other side. And of course, no one wins, but the Empire State Building starts to crumble under the pressure. And then we get to, put my specs back on, we get to a great double-page splash here. Two-page spread, however you want to call it. But this is page 16 and page 17. I will have to scan this and try to stitch it together because the whole thing won't fit on my flatbed. But I should be able to stitch it in Photoshop. I'll give it a shot. But you've got the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the Shield helicarrier. All hell is breaking loose right in the middle of New York City. And they are trying to contain Godzilla. And it ain't working so well for our heroes. But it is some spectacular art. And just a beautiful composition here. I wouldn't mind having that on my wall too, I don't have enough wall for all the art I'd like to hang. What ends up happening here is Rob Tagaguchi manages, the little boy that befriended Godzilla, throughout this entire series. He ends up escaping his quarters on the helicarrier, and he gets topside, and he starts talking to Godzilla, and he manages to calm Godzilla down. Godzilla even picks him up at one point. I'll scan pages 22 and 23. It shows that pretty good. And Rob pleads with Godzilla to leave the city. And all the heroes and S.H.I.E.L.D., they're all topside on the carrier, except for the Fantastic Car. They all stop doing what they're doing and let Rob try to talk Godzilla down. Page 26 and 27, two more great pages. 27 shows the little cameo by Spider-Man. But the real awesome thing about page 27 is the very top panel, top left panel. The Godzilla stepping between two buildings. And it's just fantastic. The coloring, uncredited, but the coloring here is spectacular. The lighting is awesome. Just a beautiful shot of Godzilla. Love that panel. And then that is how this thing ends. Rob has managed to talk Godzilla down and convince him to peaceably leave the city. And he goes into the water, goes under, and he disappears. And it says finish. It says finish. It says Fin, F-I-N at the end. So they knew this series had come to an end, and it had a good ending. So that is how it ends. The letters page makes no mention of the series ending, but it doesn't make a mention of there being a next issue either. So obviously they knew this was the end of it, and they had lost the license from Toho. Now, what I don't know is the terms of that, and how that came about. Maybe if someone has some background info on that, let me know in the comments. So I don't know if they lost the license or if they just let it go. I don't know if they had a deal for a finite amount of time and this was the end of it and expired. Totally unknown to me. I do know that they had a Godzilla-like creature appear in a couple other Marvel comics later. I think one of them was Iron Man 193 or something like that. They couldn't call him Godzilla and they couldn't make him look exactly like Godzilla. So they altered the appearance a lot. I'm pretty sure I read that issue of Iron Man, but I cannot remember much about it. And I don't have it in my collection now, unfortunately. But if you're interested in the Red Ronin character, the giant piloted Shogun Warriors-like robot, it was introduced in this series. That character, well, I don't care to call it a character, that robot, that pilotable robot, and I think Rob Takaguchi's probably in this too. I can't remember. It's been a while since I read it, but it's issue 198 of Avengers, has Red Ronin. And also issue 199. And if you haven't read these issues, they're awesome. Great stuff by, they both feature great art by George Perez with Dan Green inks. David Michelini is writing on these two issues. So yeah, it's some fantastic stuff. Highly recommend these if you haven't read these. So I always thought that if Marvel was ever to make a gallery edition or like a mini omnibus of the Godzilla series, they would need to. I think they would do well to include issues 198 and 199 of Avengers also. Kind of book in that to complete the Red Ronin saga, I guess, which I love that robot. I think it's awesome. But that is the end of Marvel's Godzilla. And they never got the license back after that, to my knowledge. It went to IDW and maybe one or two other publishers over the years. But that was all Marvel did with it. And I know this series has been reprinted in Essentials format, but still nothing on the way of an omnibus or a gallery. So still nothing oversized, to my knowledge, has been reprinted and collected of this. And I wish it could be. That would be awesome. But I hope you like taking a look at this. And you can look back through my my Sunday Scan Archives playlist there if you missed other issues you want to look at. I don't think I started covering these until I was at issue 12. I didn't get the idea for this series until then. But yeah, hope you liked that. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Come back for more. And I'll see you next time.